Hello, I'm Full Paragon, and this is your guide to the Fire and Dark dungeon. That will be the first of the dungeons I run through. I'll be trying to do the others at a pretty consistent rate, but this one is probably the easiest just because of the characters we have. For this dungeon, you are going to need to bring a tank and healer for both elements. This can be a little tricky. While the light element has a really great tank in the form of darkness, and the water element has a really great Godqua as the healer, they don't have options for tanks and healers respectively. For the water tank, I think your go-to element here is going to be Leah. She has that really nice reduction of fire physical damage on one of her skills, and of course, you should be using her skill 2 here, which will reduce damage and also will give you a nice agility buff. Plus, Leah has this really great spear. If you can upgrade it to 7, do so, but I have run out of God Slabs and haven't been able to do that just yet. As far as other good healers, you can use Christmas Cecily in water and she'll do pretty good. But light only really has a couple of decent options. I think PJ Amy is going to be your go-to choice here. She doesn't work really well with darkness, but the fact of the matter is you just have to have a healer or this dungeon will be absolutely miserable. In the dungeon, you will need to focus on mitigation. If you can use a character with debuff block for this dungeon, it will work out quite well. Snow Mia would be a really great option to use. And if you're going to use Mitsurugi and water, the 3-star water Mitsurugi is a great option as he also has deblock, since many of the enemies are going to be doing some very painful debuffs on your team. Don't expect to be able to auto this dungeon and get through it. If you want to get 4 stars, you're going to need to play very carefully. The first floor of the dungeon is a floor that is weak to water. The answer here is not the water trio. Erica is not a very good tank, and neither is Chris. They're too fragile for that. Really need to be using a character like Leah, Mia, Mitsurugi, or even Darkness, who's capable of tanking this floor. You do also need to have good damage output. You can run into the timer here, especially if you're using a team that doesn't have the absolute best of equipment. Another choice for a tank is Wiz, especially Legendary Wiz. I wouldn't use Wiz without Legendary Wiz, but this HP recovery whenever she takes an action, along with her self-heal, and of course, Wiz's personal weapon, which allows her to absorb damage, is pretty great. You're playing the RNG game if you're using Wiz as a tank, but it can work. Valentine Cecily is another pretty good choice. As I mentioned before, you can try Christmas Cecily, but she just isn't as good. The agility down that Cecily has is rather invaluable against the boss and can be a rather great addition to your team. Go ahead and try this out, and I will let you know if I had to restart and how many times, because running through this dungeon before, I did have to do a number of restarts. Saying that I had to do 2 restarts, Godqua got critted once, and the other time the enemies just continuously picked on her and she died, and without Godqua you're not beating this dungeon rather easily, so I restarted twice. When you get in here, what you're going to want to do is blitz down one enemy as quickly as possible. That's because you absolutely need to be reducing the amount of damage that your party is taking as soon as you can, or you're just going to end up dead. It's very easy to wind up with bad targeting here. Godqua, as you can see, very nearly died there. And in a previous run, she did die for me. Which means that if you're not right on the ball, you're going to end up with a dead team. All of these characters are actually shockingly fragile in this mode, so it's a great idea to keep your party topped off as much as possible. That debuff on Leah is an absolute killer. Fortunately, I'm going to be able to use her ult, which will allow me to get off not only more healing, but reduce the damage that my characters are taking. Alright, this is the part where we start to cheese and just take our time. We're going to slowly whittle down this last foe, fully healing ourselves up. And here's a big tip on this dungeon. I know I've mentioned it before, but when you get the character to the point that they're almost dead, what you need to do is stall. Alright, I need to fill up as much gauge on all these characters as I possibly can. There we go. Now I'm ready to go into the next one. A big key to this dungeon is unfortunately RNG, and that's what bonuses that you get. Alright, I got some pretty okay ones. I'm going to take this super gauge boost early on because it's really going to help when I get to the light characters so that they'll be offing ults fairly quickly and they won't be as fragile. It's not as good later on, but for now, I'll take it even if my front line here is already set with full gauges ready to go. Of course, I'd rather see an agility buff, but we can't always be so fortunate. I'm just going to keep the same front line here and go right in. I'm going to spam all the ults right away. It's really important here because this is the party that will go on to face the boss. I'm going to need to preserve them as much as possible, and having a good setup here will really help with that. I'm going to go ahead and target the big one because he is more of a threat, and I would rather stall against the little one. It's a little bit more effort to take him down, but since I gave myself a lot of extra time, thanks to Chris's ult, and I have all of my characters at full HP, as you can see, I was able to stall. Now, I'm just going to stall even more and let this little one mess with me a little bit. Full gauges on everyone. Alright. There we go. That was really great. I managed to stall. I have full super gauges and pretty close to full action gauge. Alright, this is an absolutely terrible selection of items. I'm going to go ahead and redraw it here. Let's see what I got. I got even more awful ones. Well, I guess I'll take a status resistant boost even though it's pretty useless. Alright, now it's on to the light section of the dungeon. I cannot overstate how important it is to have some mitigation ready to go. You're absolutely going to get dumpstered. Legendary Darkness is an absolute champ here, as is Mitsurugi. You can also use Light Leah here, especially if you have Snow Leah, as she has a tier 2 dark damage resist, which can be really great and prevent you from taking a lot of unnecessary damage. You don't really need to run Mel in the back. I'm going ahead and doing that just because I have her. You can try to use a mage team here, but prepare yourself for a lot of recess. They are made out of tissue paper and will quite easily fold over and die. Alright, as soon as possible, get some agility buff going here. Do not, under any circumstances, use her heal when you don't need it. You need to be saving heals here. And there's that nasty, nasty agility debuff. Fortunately, I have an agility buff which pretty much counteracts that. We'll go ahead and use Darkness as ult so that... Now I'm going to go ahead and use that heal because it will be of quite a bit of benefit there. And I have her second heal ready to go, although I will not be using it just yet. Mostly because I'm going to be using Mitsurugi's heal, along with Darkness's damage reduction. There, we've killed off one of the characters, which is only a good thing here. Just gonna kind of wait here. Alright, go ahead and use your heal, just because I really, really need her to not die right now. I will probably lose a character on the final boss, so I definitely don't want to lose a character right now. If he keeps hitting Darkness, that is perfect. Darkness is here to get hit, which, you know, she's super excited about that. Alright. No need to use that yet. Just keep whittling the boss down here. Another laser eye. That very, very unpleasant agility down. He will spam that on you if you're very unlucky. It's pretty close to dead, though. Pretty close to action gauge on those two. We'll go ahead and kill them off. Especially since I was getting low on time there. You do absolutely have to watch your time. I did not get a good bonus this time. Well, I'm dealing mostly physical damage, so I'll go ahead and take that, but that is very much not what I want to see. We're going to go in. We have a heal ready to go, and I will need to use it because if I am not topped off, these guys will kill me. They buff their own agility, and then they will debuff your agility, which is just lovely. Fortunately, he's going to keep me from being too injured here, and darkness will buff me to the point where I will be taking very little damage, which is good. Kill the little one first. Fortunately, Amy is ready with a clutch heal. And that should kill off... Nope, not quite. Fortunately, they're targeting Mitsurugi, who's more than capable of taking it. Amy, not so much. Even with a buff, Amy is very fragile and does not respond well. I'm going to go ahead and use this now. I'm not going to have this team used again, so it's alright if I spam all their abilities. I just need to be very careful and not lose anyone here. Fortunately, I'm getting my mitigation up in time, so nobody died. Leak some cage, but that's alright. More important to be right on that heal. I'm going to use this as soon as... Yep, he's ulting. So I need to heal up again. Fortunately, I've saved Luna until the end because you really do want her on the last boss. The last boss will absolutely wreck you, especially since I have not gotten any damage reduction bonuses. They're actually quite good here, since the boss is capable of one-shotting an entire party. An agility boost is good. A 30% damage boost is really nice, though. Well, it is the last boss. I'm going to go ahead and take the 30% damage boost. If you can kill that last boss fast, that is good, because he is going to just slam your party. It's one reason you take Leah. Without her damage reduction, your party will absolutely get slammed and will not survive it. In fact, I would be prepared to lose a character here. I'm going to go ahead and put Cecily in my slot here, as her healing will be invaluable. Alright, I've got my full gauges and I have my action bars ready to go, because that boss will slam you right away. Slow him down. If the boss can't act, he can't deal damage to you. There we go. I'm taking them down pretty fast thanks to that damage boost. But I'll make sure and let him get off at least one ult on me, so you can see just how devastating it is. Yeah, I just about died from a single ult. That's why you want to have Luna ready to go. Unfortunately, I will not be taking a second hit as he's going to die here. There we go. So, I actually had to do 2 restarts to this dungeon. You won't be seeing those, but I did have to restart because there were a couple times where my healer got targeted, went down hard, and I had to restart. You can restart just by exiting the app, and you'll be able to restart the floor. I was doing training, so I just forfeited, but you can still do that. Alright, that is the Fire and Dark Dungeon. This is a very challenging game mode. If you are not an endgame player, do not expect to be able to clear the advanced dungeon. You need basically a perfect team with endgame gear or it is not happening. I will be releasing guides as I get through the other dungeons. This one actually took me a couple days to clear because I just was not ready for how hard it was the first time around. Good luck in your own clears, and I hope this was of some help to you.